Trump shared a video just the other day that was interesting. So Donald Trump loves to attack the media. He loves to attack the press. And, you know, it's been very good for him because, you know, a lot of people don't trust the media. But why don't they trust the media? For what reasons? What type of media are we talking about? So I came up in print journalism, which I consider the real journalism. If you watch television journalism, if you watch, you listen to radio, all of this, you know, radio, I'll give a little more credit, but a lot of what they do is just regurgitating or just talking about the work that print journalists do. You know, print journalists usually look like me, schlubby people behind desks, typing away, making calls, requesting documents, doing, you know, the real, we call gumshoe journalism, walking the streets, asking the questions, trying to get people on the record. Television news exists as in pretty much these days exclusively as an entertainment, as infotainment, okay, as an entertainment outlet. So they are trying to feed you information that they're pretty sure you want to hear anyway, and funnel it in a way that doesn't upset whatever corporate ownership they have, whatever advertisers are paying them for commercial time. So that's why you don't see a lot of you know, the big problems. When Bernie hit the scene, my man Bernie Sanders hit the scene and was constantly talking about wealth income and income inequality, about, you know, public health crises facing Americans like opioid epidemic and others, and then you know, the labor issues, the way workers are treated. There's a reason why you don't hear this stuff regularly on corporate news. It's because the corporate ownership of and sponsorship of these outlets and these shows, they don't want to hear about that. They only want to launder their images and look good and hold on to their power, which is a very money-based power. Now, Trump, this is hilarious. He shared this video, and I'm going to go to the original video because I don't really want to give this guy Dan Scavino the views. But big tech and the fake news media have partnered to suppress. Freedom of the press is gone, a thing of the past. That's why they refuse to report the real facts and figures of the 2020 election, or even, where's Hunter? So they keep talking about Hunter Biden. This really is the biggest falling flat part of their election stuff. But check this out. Deadspin, they did this original video. Now, what this is this is from Sinclair Media. What is Sinclair Media, you might ask? It's a massive conglomerate of that owns, it's this umbrella that covers all of these local news stations. You know, wherever you live, you might have this local news where they go out and they do a 30-second report on some issue in your community and offer no nuance, offer no back history or anything. They just go, this happened today, and then, okay, back to you. And then they read the national news, okay? Now, check this video out. I don't know if you hadn't seen it before. It's interesting. Now, this is from Deadspin. This is a supercut of Sinclair Media broadcasts. This is to show that all across the country, all these local media stations were presenting this as a news report that we just organically came up with this. Listen to how creepy and Orwellian this is.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false
Plaguing our country.
What does this remind you of? This is a story of media conglomerization that has destroyed political discourse in this country. Bam, 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 bam. Anyway, let's keep going.
plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda.
Anybody notice Fox right there in the middle? Yeah, of course.
Controlling exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Fox.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Now, I don't need to play the whole thing. You get the idea, okay? Trump shared a repost of this, and he's talking about, this is why they're all saying that I lost when in fact I won tremendously, right? That Joe Biden stole the election. This is why there's he shared this video in relation to that. But this video, in fact, was done by Deadspin. And look at this, how America's largest local TV owner turned its news anchors into soldiers in Trump's war on media. So this is Sinclair. Sinclair is this conglomerate, and the owners of the company are super in the bag for Trump. And they really... This is an example of what, and it's hilarious. They also ran all kinds of stories, Sinclair, across local platforms about the migrant caravan during the midterms. Anybody remember the migrant caravan hysteria and how it completely evaporated after the election ended? So that's what we're dealing with here. Is literally we have as a print journalist, and I've only ever worked for independent news sources, okay? You guys knew the paper I worked for, The Sun, totally independent, free paper, not corporate owned. The big problem with the media in the United States is corporate ownership and consolidation. And even once well-respected newspapers, we have locally the Santa Barbara News Press, once well-respected, gets bought up by some right-wing conservative millionaire, billionaire, and then they immediately start imposing control on the newsroom and slanting it the way they want. In this case, there's this veneer over local news. More people are quicker to believe their local news than they are the corporate or what they see as the mainstream media, which is CNN, MSNBC, Fox, whatever. But this local news, it's usually given a grain of more respectability because you might see them show up to the local high school football game, or they talk to your mayor or whatever. So people get this idea that, oh, this isn't bad like that. But in fact, this news station in your community is just one little sucker on the end of a tentacle of a corporate octopus that is just slithering ideology, right-wing conservative, pro-corporate ideology throughout our communities, okay? And, they don't do any investigative work. They don't do any, real digging. When I was at the weekly newspaper I worked for, it was common practice for our newspaper, the weekly, would come out on Thursday. Guess what was in the TV news on Friday? All the stories, original stories that we had come up with. They just went and talked to they picked up the paper first thing in the morning on Thursday, read what we did, maybe talk to the people that we did, and they just presented it as all their own work. So that is, that's analogous to a lot of what goes on. Here's some more on Sinclair. Sinclair has a history of requiring local news organizations to run pro-Trump segments. Okay, even before Trump was elected, they had this whole thing about Obamacare. They also had a reoccurring segment from Sinclair's vice president for corporate relations, Mark Hyman, unfortunate name. In one August segment, he blamed Obamacare increasing the mortality rate in the U.S., a claim that was not supported by the study he was referencing. Let's see. There's another thing here that I saw. Let's see. Oh, wow, look at that. Sinclair partnered with the Trump campaign. In December 2016, Trump's son-in-law and White House senior advisor Jared Kushner revealed that the Trump campaign had a deal with Sinclair, allowing campaign access in exchange for Sinclair broadcasting more interviews with Trump. Okay? So this is a classic example of Here we have Trump complaining about a problem, but he's actually part of this problem. He's in bed with this media that he's complaining about. The Republicans do this all the time. They will literally create a problem and then go, see, look how bad things are. Trust us because look how corrupt everything is. When they're part of that corruption, they'll tell you they'll say the government's just bad at everything. The government doesn't do anything right. We shouldn't be giving our tax money to the government, right? As they are working to hobble the government, kneecap it in every which way that actually does things right. Oh, yeah, remember when we used to have a pandemic response team to the National Security Council? Remember when we used to have a functioning CDC with a team of epidemiologists in Wuhan, China, or in Beijing? Remember that? And they kept an eye on Wuhan and the wet markets there? I sure do. But Trump destroyed all that because it's bad government. And then you see Republicans, whether they're in the comments or on Fox News, going, well, Trump couldn't have done much more about coronavirus because the government's just bad at stuff. We need less taxes, right? This is the game. This is the game that they play. And people fall for it over and over. Hook, line, and sinker. Be better than that, people. You're smarter than that. They think you're stupid. We're not stupid. We know, we can see the game that they're playing, okay? I don't have any love for corporate media, even if they say it's on the left like MSNBC. MSNBC is populated by former Republicans, like the Morning Joe and all these other people, former Bush writers, speech writers are over at CNN. Corporate media is always going to slant conservative. Even when they say they're to the left and they're criticizing Trump, they're still doing it from a centered position. Okay, and they're not giving a voice to the left. They're not bringing on Noam Chomsky. You got to go to YouTube and find the leftiest people you can to talk to Noam Chomsky or any other leftist thinker in the United States with any history of dissent. Only recently, and I think we have to give credit to Bernie Sanders for really elevating the left in the discussion. Do you see people like Cornel West or movement progressives and activists, because the politicians have forced that discussion, okay? But even then, anytime those people go on to Chris Matthews or whichever guy on corporate news, they're always asked these slanted questions. Do you think defund the police hurt you in the well, what about the people who didn't support Medicare for all? Do you think they got hurt in the election? It's never framed that way. So just keep your eyes on that. Keep your head above water, folks. But we got to make sure, how do you go crazy like Ann, the lady who was just in the comments, who I had to ban because she's sharing insane nonsense. How do you go crazy like that? Well, you're too crazy even for slanted conservative media like Fox. You hate Fox now because they called Arizona for Biden because they are reporting the facts about the election, that it wasn't stolen. So now you have to go burrow deeper into fantasy land. Where do you end up? I know for a fact that person in the comments who I banned is an Alex Jones fanatic, but there's also other ones. There's OANN, OANN, the One American News Network. I referenced them earlier. YouTube had to suspend OANN's channel because they were touting a COVID cure. So the right always wants to complain that they're being banned. We're being banned. Oh my gosh, the big tech is against us. Big tech is against us. OANN has gotten to post all the crazy, batshit, right-wing conspiracy theories they wanted on YouTube. No problem. It makes YouTube lots of money. They don't have a problem with it. They make lots of money off of insane right-wing conspiracy mongering. But guess what? We're also in the middle of a public health crisis, and you're saying you have a miracle cure, okay? Like, this stuff is beyond the pale, and this really shows you, once you begin to flirt with this stuff, whether it is disinformation, whether it is conspiracy theory, you're opening the door. You're opening the door. Back when I was an editor of a newspaper, I would get letters to the editor all the time. Some of them were vitriolic. Some of them were angry. Some of them were divisive. We'd run them. But once you start making unsubstantiated claims, it's like you can't... not only can you not print it because it's a liability for whatever newspaper. If you write in a letter to the editor and go, I hate the mayor and the mayor's a jerk and the mayor doesn't do anything right, then okay, you hate the mayor, I can run that. But if you say, I hate the mayor and the mayor doesn't do anything right and the mayor raped my dog, whoa, then you've made a claim about the actions of that person. And if I run it without any substantiation, I'm now open to libel, to getting a libel suit. For some reason, social media exists in this magical place where they have so much money and power in Washington that they can just say, well, we're not the publisher, people are the publishers. And we don't, only recently, as a pandemic in the United States has spiraled out of control because of people sharing insane nonsense and all these other issues, with the election fraud and the manipulation that went on in 2016, only now are they taking a little modicum of responsibility and trying to control the amount of nonsense, BS that flows through these outlets. It's insane.